Welcome to Math with Mrs. Cox. We are on Chapter 3, Lesson 7, Hands-on Distributive Property and Partial Quotients. Now this lesson always blows everyone's mind, but don't worry, I will help try to make it as simple as possible. This is just another strategy on how to do division. Let's begin by looking at this example. Jessie has 369 beads to be split evenly among 3 necklaces. How many beads can Jessie put on each necklace? Now we're used to doing division like this. 369. 3 will go into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3. Bring down the 6. 3 will go into 6 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. Bring down the 9. 3 will go into 9 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Right? So 123 is the answer. And they're going to show you another strategy that if you didn't want to have to do all of this, that you could break it up by place values. Right here you have 300. There's a 3 in the 100 spot. And a 6. There's a 6 in the 10 spot. So you have 60 down here. And then in the 1 spot you have 9s, because over here in the place value there's 1. There's a 9. So you break it up by place value. So they want you to model 369 as 300 plus 60 plus 9. Next, they divide each section by 3. So you would take the 300 divided by 3, and right here they do that. 300 divided by 3 equals 100. So 300 divided by 3 is 100. Next, they do 60 divided by 3, which is 20. Make that 20 look a little more like a 20. And you can imagine the next one. 3 will go into that 9 how many times? There you go. Then they just add them all the way down. They like to put them like this, so equals 123. If I added them all down, 123, that's what we would get. So that was another way they called distributive property, where you distribute the 3 out. Okay? Just like when I distribute my candy, I can distribute the 3 out to each 123 times 3, 369. So we know that we did the math correctly. All right, let's move to the next part. Now we talked about distributive property right here. We're going to talk about partial quotients on the next part, and it's going to kind of blow some of your mind. So just hang with me, and I'll try my best to explain it so that you will understand. All right, right here, partial quotients is the method of dividing where you break the dividend into add-ins that are easy to divide. So let's try the answer, or try the question. There are 738 students in Manuel's school. There are 6 grade levels in his school. With each grade having the same number of students, how many students are there in the 5th grade? Okay, so our question, our problem are these numbers, and it's going to look like this. 6 will go into 738. Now, let's just do this the way that we're comfortable and the way that we're familiar first, okay? 6 will go into 7 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. 1. Bring down the 3. 6 will go into 13 twice. 2 times 6 is 12. Bring down the 8. 6 will go into 8 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. So, let me write that a little bit neater. We have an answer of 123 is what we've got here of how many students will be in each of the grades. Now let's talk about partial products. Now this kind of blows some people's minds, but just work with me here. We're right here on number 1. Divide the hundreds. So 600 is pretty close to 738, and we're looking for something that's compatible with 6. So divide 600 by 6. So they didn't do all this work. They just looked at that first place value of hundreds and decided that 6 is closer to 600. So they said that 100 is a partial quotient, which is a partial answer. So they subtract 600 from 738. So right here you have it. See what they did? 600 is subtracted, and then over here we have 100 left over. 100 is the partial quotient, because 600 divided by 6 is 100. I know it's really tricky, just follow with me. I have to teach you this, so just pay attention. Next, you divide the tens. 120 is close, like if we're estimating and finding compatible numbers, 120 is close to 138 and is compatible with 6. So divide 120 by 6. See how it's compatible? The 12 and the 6 are compatible. So we know that 12 divided by 6 is a 2, and then you bring that 0 down. 20 is a partial quotient. So over here, they have 120 will come off of 138, and then we're going to put the 20 over here. I know, really crazy, right? It seems like a lot of extra work, but for some people's brains, this works great. 3, divide the ones. Divide 18 by 6, and we know that 3 is going to be a partial quotient. Then it wants us to add the partial quotient. So we have 100, 20, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 123 students are in the 5th grade. 123 is the answer we got, doing it the original way and doing it the partial quotient way. I know, it's really crazy. Just hang with me, okay? All right, let's bounce on over. We are going to skip number 1, and let's bounce on over and try this distributive property and a partial quotient. There we go. Let's do this one. Okay, number 2, distributive property. Distributive property is easy peasy. I think you guys have that down, but they do want you to draw a great big rectangular box. So right here, draw the rectangular box for me. Thank you. Now we need to divide it by place values. Okay, so we're going to put 200, because that's the first place value. Draw a little line dividing it. Then we're going to draw 40, which is the next place value, because there's 4 tens. Divide it and draw an 8, because there are 8 ones. Okay, now everything's going to get the 2 distributed to each of these. So put a cute little 2 right there. There you go. So now we are dividing. So how many times will 2 go into 200, my friends? 100 times. Now 2 will go into 40 how many times? Very good. Now 2 will go into 8 how many times? There you go. Now you just add those together. Of course, they like you to write it down here. So 100 plus 20 plus 4 equals 124. Circle your answer so I can find it easily, please. All right, let's do one more distributive property, okay? Let's do number 3. Please draw your rectangle. Nice and big so you have plenty of room to work with. In the first part, we have 9 as the hundreds. We're going to put 900 as the place value. The next place value, we have a 6 in the tens. So we're going to put 60. And the next place value, we have a 3 in the ones spot. So we're going to put a little lonely 3 over there. Now, our divisor is 3, so we're going to put our 3 right here. All right, 900 divided by 3 is what? Well, just think about 9 times divided by 3 is going to be 3. Bring the 2 zeros up for 300. Okay, 60 divided by 3. Well, I know 6 divided by 3 is 2. Just going to bring the 0 up. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we have 300 plus 20 plus 1. And that makes our answer 300. Wow. Let's see if I can write that a little bit neater. 321. Circle your answer, please. Okay, I think you've got it. I think that's all we're going to do for a distributive property. So bounce on down to 6, because we're going to use partial quotients. remember, this is pretty crazy, but don't worry, just hang on with me, okay? All right, let's write it like this. We're going to go 3 division bracket 6, 5, 4. Then they want you to kind of do a line right here, okay? Because we're going to put our partial quotients over here. All right, so 3 will go into 600. Then we're going to put 600 right here, okay? 3 will go into 600. So how many times will 3 go into 600? Well, 3 will go into 6 twice, bring the zeros over. So we're going to say twice and bring the zeros over, okay? Then now we're going to do the 50, the 54. 54, we got to find something that's compatible. 54 and 3 are not very compatible. So let's maybe do 30. How many times will 3 go into 30? 3 will go into 30. Hang on, I forgot. I got to write it just like this first. Sorry. I've got to bring the 54 down because that's what I'm doing next. Then I'm going to divide 30 into that. So 3 will go into 30 10 times. You still with me here? Okay, now I'm going to subtract that from what's left over. So then I'm going to have 4. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, now how many times will 3, wrong button, 3 go into 24? 3 will go into 24 8 times. So 8 times 3 is 24, and that would be 0. Now they want me to add all of these together. So 200 plus 10 plus 8, I'll have 8, 1, 2. 218. I know, kind of crazy, right? Some people really like partial quotients, and they love how they can part it out. Other people want nothing to do with it. Let's try number 8, okay? We're kind of bouncing around with this because it is tested a little bit on the state standard tests, but there's usually one or two questions, so that's why I need to go over it just a little bit with you. All right, let's bracket it up. We have 3 that will go into 300. Let's see, I'm going to write this, wrong button. We're going to, goodness sakes, butterfingers. 3, I'm going to give myself some room. 351. Okay, and then we have to draw a line coming down so we can put our partial quotients to the side. All right, 3 will go into 300. 3 will go into 300 pretty good, so let's do that. So 3 will go into 300. At least, well, 3 will go into 3 once, and then bring the zeros over, right? So that after I take 300 from 351, I'm going to have 51 left. Now 3 doesn't go into 51 very nicely. It's not compatible, but I do know that it will go into 30 really well, and it will go into 30 10 times. So then I'm going to subtract that, and that's going to be 21. And then 3 will go into 21 7 times. And 7 times 23 is 21. So then I can add all those together. Bring down the 7, bring down the 1, bring down the 12. So 112. Wow, there we go. 112 will be my answer there for the partial quotients. I know, pretty crazy, right? Quick recap. I wanted to make sure you understood that on number 8, the answer is 117. I made a goof and wrote 112. So make sure that you write 117.